So today I want to discuss, how do I explain this? Well, first of all, before I get started, I'm wearing the yellow star and the yellow clothing of shame in honor of my forefathers, my relatives, who the Christians murdered, raped, and pillaged in the name of Jesus, a foreign false god whose name is entirely of Greek origin. And may the children of Abel rise up in judgment against the children of Cain, these Christians, who began their merciless warfare against the truth and against the holy people, beginning in around, 300 AD with Constantine. Now, there has been a lot of talk, and I have talked about it plenty myself. How do you know the time of the end? How do you even know if and when the trumpet sounded? What I'm going to do is I've gone over many times Matthew 24. And for those of you who are Jews who are listening, let it be understood that Yeshua is not Jesus or Jesus. Period. Yeshua or Yehoshua he will come and do the job of the first Yehoshua, the one who brought the children of Israel, all of them, each and every 12 tribe, out of the wilderness into the promised land. That is what he's going to do. All of us who are flung out in the furthest reaches of the earth to bring us all back in. So in Matthew 24, Yeshua provides careful timeline. It cannot be jumbled up. When you go to the first section, is the destruction of the temple foretold. That happened at 70 AD. It's over. So that part's over. False messiahs, that happened too. Among the Jews, there were many false messiahs after the temple fell. And they were all proven to be liars. Then the Romans slaughtered, persecuted the followers of Yeshua. That's in the portion of witnessing to all nations. Verses 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And that happened before the destruction and after the destruction of Jerusalem. And make no mistake about it, the hierarchy in the government of the Jews in the days of Yeshua, in the days of the apostles, were the enemies of the apostles. That generation was a crooked generation, and that generation received the punishment of the destruction of the temple, the sacking of Jerusalem, and the dispersing into all nations. The abomination of desolation, he's speaking once again about Rome. Verse 15 through 25. This is talking about Rome besieging Jerusalem starting in 67 AD. Verse 21 said, that would be great tribulation, such as not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And that tribulation was not just 3.5 years. It was 3.5 years of the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. But that tribulation, time of Jacob's trouble, began at that time and continued. For almost 2,000 years. Then the timeline in Matthew 24, verse 25, talks about the very end. Now, what I have concluded now, people might say, Henry, you've changed your mind so many times. I'm not a prophet. I have never said I was a prophet ever. I have never taken any money from anybody. These are my Bible studies and my musings. There are some things that are absolute fact that can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I have done it concerning Daniel 9. I have proven it that they have taken Daniel 9 and they have turned Israel's Messiah into the Antichrist. They twisted Daniel 9 so badly. This is what they've done. And I have explained Daniel 9. It's so easy, a 5th grader can understand it. Now, I'll start reading in verse 26. And I'm going to start hearkening back to certain scriptures in the Old Testament. And the prophets, I should say. Verse 25. Wherefore, if they should say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. If anybody tells you, oh, the Messiah is here, don't do it. Don't go. Because everybody's going to know where he is when he comes. That's essentially what he's saying. Verse 28, or verse 27, for just as the lightning comes out of the east and shines into the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. In other words, plain as daylight, plain as lightning for everyone to see. And where is he going to be? Where the dead carcasses are, that's where the eagles are going to be gathered. That harkens back to Ezekiel 39. So this will be, he will come. He will be seen when Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39 takes place. But wait, Ezekiel 38 and 39 is very similar to the last part of Joel 2. Very similar to the 6th seal. Well, here's the question that I have. What if the 6th seal is the 6th trumpet? See, at one time I thought that the trumpets and the vials were the same, but the problem was it appears that the vials were across over the whole earth, but the trumpet sounds at least most of them, or the first half of them, were on 1/3 of the earth. So it is very conceivable that we have already gone through trumpet sounds, and we're very close to the sixth trumpet. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the fifth trumpet, you'll see that forces are arrayed along the Euphrates River, as I've talked about a couple of months ago. And you can read the fifth trumpet sound, and you can. It's obvious. He's talking about modern warfare, and it's on the Euphrates River. Well, forces are arrayed along the Euphrates River. Now, that brings me to the point. Verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days, that means immediately after Israel's tribulation is finished. It's over. No more tribulation for Israel. No more tribulation for Jerusalem ever again. No more. Shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. We're going to Joel 2, last part of Joel 2 again. And the stars shall fall from heaven. Wait, don't we see some of that happening in the sixth seal? Let's go there for a second. Revelation 6 and verse 12. And I beheld when he opened up the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. Yes. Now watch this. I almost lost my place. Okay. But first he must suffer many things and be rejected of this generation before that happens. And it was a long time ago. Now, just like it was in the days of Noah, nobody was paying attention. Nobody knew what was going on. If people might say, if the first trumpet hadn't yet started, how then, let me try to explain this. So shall it be in the days of the Son of Man, like the days of Noah. They did eat and they drank, and they married wives and were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. It went down, bam, just like that. Because as soon as Noah entered into the ark, Jehovah, our Father in heaven, came down and sealed it from the outside and locked it shut. What it says. And the flood came and destroyed them all, just like that. Likewise, also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat and they bought and they sold and they planted. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. So thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day, when you know you're supposed to go to Israel, when that time comes, you're not supposed to wait around. I talked about this in my last video. You're not supposed to wait around. You know where you're supposed to go. Where the carcass is, the mountains of Israel, according to Ezekiel 39. In that day, if you're outside, don't go back into the house. Just take the clothes that you've got and find your way back. How am I going to do that? I don't have any money in my pocket. Many of you got credit cards. So do I. Don't even go and look for the stuff in your house. And he that is in the field, let him not likewise go back to his house. Remember Lot's wife. Now this 33 is interesting. Whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it. And whosoever is willing to risk his life shall save it. That is very different from his statement, although it's the same statement. But it's very different from the one let's see if I can find it now again. Some of this is it in Luke? Says 17:33. That might be the one like that. No. 17. All right, let's do this. I lost it. I'll find it. All right, it would be in Matthew 10. Okay, Matthew 10, verse 39. This was in a different context. The context is during the time when Yehoshua is gone, not when he comes back. This is verse 37. He that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. He that loves a son, daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that takes not his burden, not cross, and follows after me is not worthy of me. He that finds his life shall lose it, and he that loses his life for my sake shall find it. The context here is many people lost their lives to the Romans for Yeshua's namesake. And it says that he that has lost his life was killed. For my sake shall find it, will be saved. So, now we go back to where we were in Luke. So what does this verse 33 in Luke 17 mean? Who's at that particular time? Well, it is for Yeshua's sake. It is for Jerusalem's sake. It is for Israel's sake. But guess what? It doesn't say that he, let's see. Oh, okay. It says, whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. That should be, whosoever is willing to lose his life shall preserve it. I tell you that there shall be two men in one bed, one shall be taken and the other left. Now, what's he talking about? when that time comes when the Son of Man is revealed and everybody sees, you don't wait around. You go. You just go. Go, 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 go. You have an arsenal of guns in your gun cabinet. Leave them there. You leave. You leave with the clothes on your back. And you go. With the shoes on your feet. And you go. How? A way will be provided. Isaiah 60 shows how that way is going to be provided. On flying ships. What kind of flying ships? Well, airliners. The reason is very simple. Because the days that the angels came to visit Lot, things were still normal. There was still normality where he was. He could escape the city without consequence. This very same thing for those who are strung out in faraway lands away from Israel. When it's time to come to Israel, when it's time to come to Jerusalem, you will be able to go without consequence. Even if you have to walk through the fire. Because it is written in the prophets. You will walk through the fire and not be burned. So you'll have to have the faith to know you're going to be walking through the fire and not be fearful. That's the reason why it's saying is, whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it. Save his life how? Hiding in your house? Hiding under the rocks? No, that's not what you do. No, you get your tail up from where you are and go. Two women shall be grinding together, one shall be taken and the other left. Two men shall be in the field, one be taken and one left. And then they answered and said unto him, Where? Where are they going to be taken? Where are they going to go? And he said unto them, Wherever the body is, that's where the eagles or where the vultures are going to be gathered together, wherever that dead carcass is. Once again, Ezekiel 39. So the question is, what is going to happen to these preachers who spent years in a seminary learning the Bible and then telling their congregations lies? I have mentioned this before. When people are living in plenty, when they have food in their mouths, when their children are fed, they have clothing on their backs and a roof over their head, they typically are benevolent. When you start taking those things away from them, and they find out that they have been hoodwinked, when they find out that the preachers have swindled their salvation away from them, that benevolence is going to turn to malevolence. Back in the day in Europe, when the preachers would rev up the crowds against the Jews, and then the crowds, the church members would go with their lynch mobs and go find them some Jews to lynch and burn. You see, the shoe is going to be on the other foot now. Now the crowds are going to find out that they've been bamboozled, hornswoggled, swindled by you, the preacher. They found out that there is no salvation for them because, as it is written, let no man take your crown, and this is what they've done. They're going to do to you preachers the way you government preachers, you, C503 preachers. Yeah. You got your preacher's license, your tax exemption status, 503C is what they call it. Yes, when the people find out that they have been hornswoggled by you, they're going to do to you what they did to the Jews. That's right. They're going to put ropes around your neck. They're going to hang you up on a stake. And they're going to burn you with fire. That's what they're going to do. So, now that we see forces arrayed along the Euphrates River, now that we see the Syrians back up the Russians, the Afghanis, the Pakistanis, Hezbollah are down there on the border of Jordan and moving toward the border, the Golan Heights. They're starting to mop up the Syrian rebels who started this war against the Assad regime 7 years ago. And they finally, the Syrians, with the help of Russia and all those I've just mentioned, are starting at Dara'ah, and they're moving toward Quneitra. If you don't know where that is, you better go look on a map. And once that fight spills over into the Golan Heights, you preachers need to think about what you've done. How you've taken the money of the people and you stole the salvation of many. This last generation of preachers, they're going to be done to exactly what they fomented against the Jews these nearly 2,000 years. It's going to happen. So I have some advice for you preachers. Get rid of your preacher's license. Give back all that money you stole from the congregations if you have any left. And you might even want to change your identity. Honestly, the only thing that's really going to help you is confess what you've done to the congregation. Tell them that the name of the Messiah is not Jesus, is not Jesus, but it's Yeshua or Yehoshua. And you need to tell them, you need to tell your congregation that you lied about Israel's Messiah and that you've called him the Antichrist. You need to do it now. Because the scenario that I've laid out for you, preachers, when the people find out that they have been done wrong by you, you will suffer the same way that the Jews suffered. The script is going to be flipped on you, you Jew-hating Christian preachers. You're going to get what's coming to you. How do I put this? Jehovah does not have pleasure in the death of the wicked. And I'm not gloating over this. It's just a fact. What you have done, what you preachers have done to the people is unforgivable. You brainwashed them. You stole their salvation away from them. And you will be paid accordingly. So if any of you preachers that is listening to this video, you'd better go before your congregation and tell them you are a liar, a cheat, and a thief, and that you have used the scriptures to steal from the congregation. Give that money back to them, and tell those people the name of the Messiah is Yeshua, and he's not some long-haired son of a Roman king. But you preachers, you won't do it. You won't do it because you're living in the lap of luxury. You need to make sure your wife and your children are taken care of. Wait a minute. What does it say? It says, he that will not forsake his brother, father, sister, mother, wife, children, for Yeshua's sake, is not worthy of him. Not for Jesus' sake, for Yeshua's sake. There is a huge difference. So, that's all I've got for today.